But I tried to create pictures, and I found that after a while, people were listening. Because the problem with today's comedy, just to digress a little bit, is relying too much on smart material. Good comedy comes from inside. That's the difference, not the words.
It's like the distinction often made about acting. You know, some actors build it from outside and some do it from inside. So you would classify yourself as a comic it's you, really, that's funny. But what is it about you that you'd say is funny?
I think they identify with you, everything you say. I mean, not just the mother-in-law jokes, but what I relate in the act is exactly what's happened to them, like income tax, the wife, the problems, bringing up kids. Only on a much more surrealistic basis. Plus the fact the face is one of those faces you can't do much about. I'll never be a matinee idol. Probably helps, I don't know.
Just sticking it with the face.
It was once described as a bulldog chewing a wasp. Awful.
And further back, as a child?
Yeah, as a kid. I mean, every photograph, I was pulling faces on every photograph. It used to be, my mother used to go absolutely mad when we had a family photograph tape.
She didn't like it?
Oh, no. Well, I know Mother wants to see her son denigrated with this.
What did she make of you becoming, going on stage?
Well, she was quite, in one sense, in the early days she said, it's funny, it doesn't make me laugh, how Les. And there came a talent show in Manchester called Talk of the Town. It was a sort of talent show between Salford and Manchester. To give you some money. And I devised this act, which I thought was hysterical. Thinking back on it now, it's a wonder I wasn't taken away into an institution with a bag of biscuits, quite frankly. The idea was, I had a ginger wig secreted in the piano. And I sat at the piano and I played this ridiculous ditty, and I said, I must have, what is this? And I pulled this little glass of something out, drank it, pulled a face, put the wig on and crawled up the piano, you see, which I thought was hysterical. Apparently the silence was like a forgotten tomb, but I was so full of myself I didn't realise it. Now, I'd invited my mother and father. I was so full of this act. Of course, I went up and they disappeared. I thought, that's a bit off. Of course, I go home, and I thought, Mother's going to come out and say, bless you, my son, because you have talent. I have found you. And she dragged me, she said, get him before any bugger sees you. She was so ashamed of me. So what's wrong with you? She said, you were awful. Rubbish.
If we see your kind of humour as coping with a world, then it could be said that the aspect of your humour that is most potent is its ability to make a kind of triumph out of disaster, or make people laugh at a certain kind of lugubrious misery, and there is an element of all of that.
Well, yes, I think a lot of it's based on a terrible pessimism.
But are you?
A pessimist?
Yeah.
Yes, I think I am.
Are you a sad man?
Yes, I think I am.
Are you?
Well, sad in some ways. It's very... It's good. It's a good question. Tony Hancock was always a sad clown, but there was always a note of optimism in everything he did. And I'm the opposite, because I'm a coward. You see, I can't face reality, if I'm going to be honest with myself, because if I'm a pessimist and things turn out as bad as I imagined, then I can say, well, there you are. But if it's slightly better, I'll go, well... Now I feel mollified. So you could say it's a streak of cowardice, moral and physical cowardice, if you will.
You mention that a lot in what you write about yourself, cowardice.
I think because I've often thought I'm a terrible coward.
But you see, to be a comic, some people would say, is an act of heroic bravery.
With my act, I think I've exonerated myself now, yeah. I mean, when I look back at some of the things I used to do, and some of the clubs I played, if they like your act, they didn't clap, they let you live. I mean, they're really about security code.
But let me stick with this, because when you say cowardice, as physical cowardice...
I can just interrupt with this wine that we got. It's lovely. You could scale a boiler with it.
They probably did. There's physical cowardice, and that I sense when you talk about yourself with kids, that you actually used your humour and your face to keep a lot of these other kids at bay. But... moral cowardice, I can't see how you could be accused of that. I mean, there is something extraordinarily outrageous about being a comic, because you put yourself on, and if you're a disaster, you've only got yourself to answer.
Maybe it's my way of trying to recompense for this feeling I have. You see, I was a boxer, amateur boxer for quite a time.
For how long?
Oh, about 18 months. Hence that's why the nose and the jawbone is the way it is. It was my father's idea. My father was firmly convinced that the shoulders, and I could punch very hard.
Yeah.
And had one or two wins, which made me cry. I knocked one fella down and went down and picked him up. But the referee said, you don't do that. And I thought, actually, I can't see the sense in physical pain. I'm not a martyr. I don't believe in the church's edict that pain is... I think pain is awful, and it should be stamped out as quickly as possible. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's a feeling of not wanting to be in pain. I don't know what to throw back to. I really don't know.
No. Was there much violence in your home?
Not really. I had a wonderful upbringing. I mean, Dad was marvellous. Every time I had a bath, to keep me warm, we used to throw the electric fire in it. We used to play wonderful games like Blind Man's Buff on the M1.
I can see that this was a fairly healthy upbringing.
Oh, yeah.
But, all right, so you're saying that...
I'm a massive contradictions, and I don't really understand myself. That's what I'm saying.
But are you, going back, are you underneath it all a sad man? I mean, do you from time to time feel quite melancholic, sad? Do you ever get depressed?
Oh, no. No, I don't get depressed. I'm extremely happy, and, my life is very happy with Tracy and the baby and everything. We have a wonderful life. It's just I look at things sometimes. I think we're living in this stressful insularity which is destroying us, you see. I think that in 10 years to 20 years' time, most organic diseases will have found an antidote. But the mind is going to be under pressure. That's why you're going to be in plenty of work.
But you wouldn't see your mind as having been under great pressure. You've been fairly resilient.
Yeah, I do have an ability, I suppose, to sit back and let it waft over me. I just have a very stoic view, I suppose. I see, performers who are backstage and they get terribly nervous about something, which is understandable, particularly a command performance. But then I have a blankness coming. I sit there and I think to myself, and sometimes talk to myself, unashamedly, and say, well, what does it matter? If it's to be, it's to be. So there's this stoic fatalism, which I think helps.
But you have had setbacks. I mean, there was the loss of your first wife.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's, you don't go out to get married. As far as I was concerned, that was my life was over.
Now, when you say that, that's what I meant. If you were a truly, quote, melancholic person, that might really have opened up that side of you quite a bit. Now,
well,
did it?
There was two things that really, I suppose, helped. One was the fact that I knew she was desperately ill for a long time, and I couldn't tell anybody, because I didn't want the media to get hold of it, because it's nothing to do with anybody else.
Did she know?
The children to know.
Did she know?
No, she didn't know.
She didn't know.
Only when she went in the wheelchair at the end was the thought, I could see it in her eyes, would say, is this it?
Did she ever ask you?
Wheelchair? Yes, and I lied. Apart from that, after she died, I thought, well, that's the end of my life in that sense. I'll sell the house, get a flat, because the kids were growing up by this time, they do their own thing. And then somebody up there smiled at me. And this grubby little man suddenly found this great girl, Tracy. And she's been magic. But you don't go out to get married. I didn't go out with the sign on me back saying, I want to get married again. The odd thing was I did find that some women that we had known as personal friends suddenly became predators. Whether they thought I had a mass of shillings in a bag somewhere on the floorboards, I don't know. But
do you?
Oh, yes, doesn't everybody?
Just going back a little bit, you said it very rapidly. It took me back, really. You said when she asked you, you lied. Because, was that protecting you or her?
Probably protecting myself. Because, you see, you put it at the back of your head. You put it at the back of your mind. You don't really want to know. It's that awful moment of truth that when I was with her down to Christie's in Manchester, who were absolutely wonderful with her. And we'd made several trips, and it's such a dreadful disease. There are times when it seems arrested. There are times when almost a miraculous change comes over the person. And she face was fine. She was full of it. She was marvellous. Took her in the wheelchair.
And this had gone on for how long?
8 years.
A cancer, yes.
8 years I've been at it.
So...
And I said to the doctor, how was she? She said, can you laugh at me? He said, can I just have a word with you? I went in the other room. He said, she's got about 3 weeks. And you suddenly look at the walls and you hear his words, but you don't really hear those words. They're coming from a long tunnel. What? 3 weeks for what? Yeah. Then it hits you like a ton of bricks. And I had to tell the children, of course. So there was that awful period. But then, as I say, I must have done something right, because Tracy, she pulled me out of the doldrums and we've got a new life now. She's wonderful.
You wouldn't have found it easy to live on your own?
Oh, no. Oh, dreadful. I need to give to somebody. I need to give affection and love, because without that, I wither.
You're a very physical man.
Yes. But also, it's the poet in me. I mean, I love that film with Robin Williams, The Dead Poets Society, which he said something which I've always said. When he said, what do we have language for? And this boy said, to communicate. He said, no, it's to woo a woman. It's to fight off dragons. I need to give that love to somebody. I need to have it. Without that, I'm lost. I'm rudderless.